Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So we recently visited RHS Harlow Carr and we had the pleasure of meeting with the kitchen gardening team and had a really good long conversation with them. What follows is going to be a conversation with the kitchen gardening team. Special thanks to Rebecca, Alison, Phil. Thanks for having us and thanks for showing us around and spending the time with us. So I hope you really enjoy this. It's the first time we're growing artichokes, we've had them in the ground for about 3 years.
Okay.
And it's the first time that they've flowered and produced anything.
Okay.
And yeah, I picked them about that size. Well, a little bit smaller than that, and it was just fuzz inside.
Yeah, I think you need to pick them a little bit younger than that. So if you look at something like this is more the kind of size you would probably want to pick it at, because otherwise it starts to form the flower bud, the choke as it's called, and then that becomes the beautiful purple flowers you see on top of artichokes. So you'd cut something like this one. This is the way more that the Italians would eat artichokes. The French would eat the flat choke inside, whereas the Italians would go for this. And the outer petals are quite hard, so you'd probably want to peel a lot of this off. There's an incredible amount of waste, I have to tell you, with this. You know, when you finish doing this in your kitchen, you've got piles of stuff for the compost heap. Yeah. So I'll just do a quick rough thing now. It literally is an awful lot. I don't have a knife on me, unfortunately. But then what you would do is cut the top of this off, yeah, which I'll do with my secateurs, which is not ideal. Don't anyone do this at home. So you get this sort of thing in the middle. You see the inner petals, yeah. And you want to peel all this off, peel the outer part of the stem off. And once you get to the tenderer things, you can cut these into quarters and steam them. And you'll find they're much more palatable than the ones that have the choke in.
Okay.
So you see this.
What do they taste like?
What do they taste like? It's a really funny one. I don't know if you've come across this in veg growing, that quite often they say things taste like oysters.
No, I haven't.
No, which is, it means they don't really know what the flavour is. It's hard to describe
It's
it.
like with food when they say it tastes like chicken.
That's it, yeah. And you don't know if you've never met a chicken like that. But so this, when you've got it steamed and it's tender and everything, you just cut it into quarters, and you can melt some butter and put things like lime in it, and it's really nice just dipped in.
Oh, brilliant.
But once it's cooked, I mean, I guess you could use it in any dish. We have it in pasta as well. That's quite nice too. But for your, I don't know, for your kind of cooking, I don't know if it's a thing you'd ever use.
For traditional Indian type of cooking, no, it's not. But
No.
I mean, we explore with it. We explore with food.
Yeah, for sure.
We
Yeah,
try-
for
we
sure.
try everything. So that's one of the things that we grew it for, because it looks nice. It's a really impressive
Yeah,
plant.
it's really bonny. Yeah, yeah.
Especially when it's looking like that. It just looks like it's meant to be in the flower garden.
Yeah, it's really, really attractive. And this size of a globe artichoke plant is not actually too big for a lot of people's gardens. I reckon you could probably get maybe a couple of them in. But because they're perennial plants and they come back every year, they die down in the winter and come back every year, you have to make sure if you're going to grow them that you kind of improve the soil a little bit, because you're not going to be moving them out once they're in there for several years, which is the life of the plant. So it's worth doing if this really floats your boat, but you have not very much return for quite a big space, if you see what I mean. In squashes, do you use a lot of squashes? Do you grow them?
We grow a lot of squash.
Right.
So I looked at that and I thought we've got one called Blue Hubbard.
Yeah,
So-
they're some of the really gourmet ones, the ones with the blue outer skins and then the orange inside.
Yeah, I saw something with my onions for the first time.
Yeah.
So the onions split like that,
Yeah.
but then it's grown more onion out of the bottom, so it's like mutated and grown like another onion from underneath.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Ooh. I think there's been some very strange things this year happening to a lot of plants.
So all of this is grown from stuff that you've grown yourselves.
No, we have to go off site for the big. We haven't a coppicing thing, so we just get those from people that make hurdle fences, willow fences or chestnut fences and stuff, and then we get the brush off an estate that we can go to and collect things like that. But we think it looks a lot nicer than just canes,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
definitely gives it some character here, which we don't. It's a bit flat otherwise. Do you grow a lot of the cabbage family, a lot of the brassicas?
We grow quite a lot of cabbages.
Yeah.
So we've got cabbages. Kohlrabi is one that we have pretty much 12 months of the year.
Yeah. And how would you use it?
We add it to, curries. We add it to, just on its own as well. Just stir fry it.
Yeah.
It's just lovely.
It is a really good one.
It's one of our favourites at the moment.
It's not too difficult to grow either, really, is it?
No. I'm trying to get to Malvern this year with one. So I've got one. It's about 8 inches across.
So it's a super schmerz or something it's called.
Yeah, but Malvern do this giant veg show. And I'm hoping if I can keep it going for another few weeks, if it can get to about 6 or 7 kilos, then I won't embarrass myself when I get there. Because last year the winning kohlrabi was 26 kilos.
Oh my lord! And what did it taste like?
I don't think that's going to be edible anymore.
Yeah, that is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
About large vegetables.
Yeah.
I mean, they reckon for the kohlrabi it should only really be like a tennis ball at the max.
Yeah, tennis ball size.
Except for that exceptionally large one. Yeah. So we have a lot of problems with the pigeons here, as you can imagine, and the butterflies and everything coming on. We're eating our stuff.
With all our brassicas, we grow them under arches. So I have gourds and pumpkins that climb over the top, and then grow all my brassicas underneath there, all my lettuce under there.
Yeah.
They get a bit of shade, and the pigeons don't come down. But for butterflies and stuff, I use a lot of companion planting.
What kind of things are you doing?
I mean, I just use anything that smells. So we call them smelly plants. So in between my rows of brassicas, I've got rows of garlic, onions, coriander all around the sides, basil when it's warm enough. Any herbs that we can get. So anything that has a pungent smell, that goes around. Around my brassicas, around my lettuce, anything that gets eaten by pigeons or by insects, and it seems to do quite well. I mean, we haven't got any nets up, so everything's open. Some of the bottom leaves have been attacked a little bit, but as long as the centre's forming well,
you're not too worried about the outside losing them. Yeah. We have a real pigeon problem here, and if we don't put these nets on, the plants that first go out, they just absolutely decimate them, so you just have a little stalk with a bit of an eaten leaf. So we have to put them on, really. And the other thing we have is a lot of cabbage white butterflies, of course, and slugs. In fact, brassicas, if you think about it, they're a really difficult family, aren't they? If you look at their P&D in the book, they've got 50 pages to everybody else's one, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, but there's such a big family that everyone. There's so much that you can get from it. I mean,
Definitely.
like I was the amsoys, tatsoys, patchoys. They're all brassicas, but I mean, I spent yesterday sowing a lot of those.
Yeah, definitely. We do a lot of the Chinese veg, Oriental veg as well. So mibuna, all that kind of stuff. The bustards, all really fast-growing stuff that you can actually get in this time of year. It's not actually too late to sow some of these things, is it? And still get a leaf from that.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're doing at the moment. And I don't know if you find as well, you refine down what you like to grow and what does really well for you, and have just a little few experimental stuff going on, but you kind of stick to some of the stuff that you know does well for you. And that you can use.
I like to try something new every time, though. I mean, chicory and endive. That's a new one for me this year. So we'll see how that goes and see what it actually tastes like.
They're very bitter flavours, especially the red ones, which is a bitter colouring anyway. So we used to have an Italian gardener, Italian parentage, working in here, and he was great with all these things like chicories, because of course that's his culture, that they have those in sauces, in tomato sauces. They add them to those kind of things as leaves. Yeah, but they also have them raw as well.
Oh, interesting.
So I think a whole new line of Indian recipes could be coming out of this, I guess, could they?
Maybe. Let's see how it goes.
So we've some brassica section here. But I think you were saying earlier about sort of companion planting and such like. I think the kind of general principle we'd probably go by is to say, if you mix it up, you're less likely to attract the lot of pests.
Absolutely.
Because I think for the brassicas, I think the pests kind of find them by walking on them, and if there's an awful lot of them, they'll go, okay, let's all go there, mates. There's tons of food for us. But if there's not, they might go elsewhere. So we've got like underplanting with the green manure there.
What is this green manure?
That's clover.
Okay.
So another nitrogen fixer.
It'll be perfect because it'll be feeding the soil as well.
And keeping it cool, which the brassicas also like. So we just have to keep cutting it down so it doesn't get, you know, above itself and start competing. But you know, it's a thing we've tried a few times. That.
Trefoil's another nice low growing plant.
Yeah. Do you use those green manures at all?
Yeah,
You do that, do you?
a lot of green manures. So stuff like when we're gonna be harvesting potatoes in a couple of weeks, and once we pull our potatoes out, it's just going to be loads of green manures over the top of that. So winter rye, mustards, and just cover it. And then I'll chop and drop that in the spring, early spring. I'll chop and drop it, and then mulch over the top of it.
And then you've got another layer of soil on top of that, so you're planting into that.
The soil that I started on when we first started gardening in our garden was really heavy yellow clay.
Oh, nice.
So we had probably about an inch of grass and topsoil, and as soon as you scrape that back, it's yellow.
Lovely.
And you know, it doesn't. You go a little bit deeper, and it's blue. You know, the stuff that you can actually make pots from.
We actually literally did that with some of our soil here several years ago. One of the women, she took a pile of clay home and made a pot.
Oh.
And so like, okay, and everyone comes around here and says, oh, your soil's amazing, it's really good. But the thing about the raised beds, which are kind of you're kind of raising your beds by layers anyway, is that you can mix your own soil.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if your soil is really rubbish, because you can put stuff on top of it, you know, manure, mushroom compost, anything else.
I mean, we started on a really tight budget, so we were just getting anything we could get for free. So grass clippings. So all my neighbours dropped the grass clippings off.
I bet they loved you.
My neighbour, he's got this birch beech hedge.
Yeah.
So every time he trims his hedge, he just brings a big dumpy bag full and leaves it on my drive.
Oh wow! And you just pile a lot of loads in the beds.
The leaves are going straight onto the beds. Wow. So sometimes we're not even composting them; they're just going straight on, and just composting in situ.
Yeah, but just putting some more soil on the top, isn't it? Just your top layer, basically.
So constantly if we put down some leaves, so underneath brassicas. Underneath brassicas, I'd put down leaves and allow, around a bed like that, it'd be covered in leaves and grass clippings.
So a mulch for them, really.
Yeah. So it's going to be mulch, feeding the soil, and then next year it's ready for something else. Yeah. I'll just add loads of wood chips and loads of anything I can get for free, really.
Do you feed your plants at all?
The only feed that we use is either nettle tea, comfrey tea. Use a fruit cocktail, so any sort of banana skins, apple cores, anything like that, just rot that down in a bucket and just spray that.
So you don't find then that mulching with things like leaves and wood chips, because to actually start their composting process, it actually takes stuff out the soil potentially, doesn't it?
The nitrogen that it takes out is only going to be at the soil level, so where the wood chips touch the soil, that's where it's going to take the nitrogen from. But if you're creating deep soil, and you're allowing the plants to push the roots down lower, they're getting the feed from a lot lower down, so they're not bothered about that loss of nitrogen at the top. I mean, for example, I put some pictures up on Twitter about my garlic, and the roots go down about 8 to 9 inches.
Wow.
So normally you see garlic roots about 2 or 3 inches, but my roots go down 8 or 9 inches.
Right. Okay. Something's working then.
And so it's just constantly, as everything's breaking down, it's constantly feeding the soil. So
it does work for you, obviously.
It's working. I mean, I'm happy for anyone to come over and have a look if
you're ever interesting. We'll all come and visit, definitely. Yeah.
It'd be lovely to have you.
So who does the recipes then? Who does the cooking? Are you a cook as well?
I cook. My mum's idea has always been that you have to be independent. Yeah. So you're never going to look at someone else to take care of you. So that's the way my mum raised us. So, yeah.
But anyway, I think if you're growing veg, you're not going to be just stopping at growing the veg, are you? You're going to be looking at what can you actually make with it. You know.
And if you tell by my tummy as well, a bit of a foodie.
we have that all the time walking around the kitchen garden. People come and they go, oh, what do you do with this kale stuff so good? Well, you know, you can stir fry it and cut it into ribbons and put mustard and things in with it and lime, and those flavours work well. So everyone here that works here, they're kind of into the cooking a little bit, if not various amounts of it. So, you know, if people take stuff home to try, quite often you'll get a recipe back from somebody saying, oh, well, this is what we do with this. So we go, oh, try that, you know. But that's a really nice, it's a really nice cross-fertilisation, if you like, of all the people that like growing veg and harvesting veg. They like cooking as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah?
Brilliant.
Yeah, so you're obviously one of these people.
Yeah, I love my food.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have that a bit here because obviously people come around and visit the gardens, and some of them have not got gardens of their own, so they come around to see this one, and things like our volunteers that work here and look after the gardens with us. I think they've got the same thing. A lot of them are retired; they don't want to do their own big gardens anymore, so they come in and do ours, and then they can go home and forget about it and leave all the weeding that don't get finished to us. You know, that's fine. But they get a lot from that, I think. You know.
Oh, fantastic.
And we give them veg as kind of thank yous for doing stuff for us.
That's a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah. So we keep them sweet coming to visit us, really. So this is the brassicas, the cabbage section. We do kind of traditional rotation. Yeah, we grow a lot of kale.
Yeah.
That's very trendy, the black kale, isn't it? The Cavallo Nero. Do you grow that?
The ones that I sold yesterday were black Tuscan.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's got several names, but it's the trendy one.
Yeah.
You know. If you're anyone, you've got to be growing that. But yeah, you see we've got the nasturtiums, and we'll use the flowers and the leaves, and also the little buds. Do you use the buds as well?
We just grow them purely as companion plants.
Right.
I mean, some of the flowers, my daughter might put them in her hair, but...
Well, yeah, well they're really good. I mean, they've got like several benefits. I mean, they're pretty, obviously, for a start, so they're attracting your pollinators and your insects, and they also attract blackfly onto them. It's like a sacrificial crop, yeah? So that it takes it away from the plants that the blackfly's eating. They prefer that. And then, as long as there's not too many blackfly, you can eat the leaves, the flowers, and can you see the pods as well? Can you see the little pods, the curly pods at the end?
These here?
Yeah, the buds.
Okay.
So you can actually pickle those like capers.
Can you eat them raw?
Yeah, yeah.
Should I try one?
Try one and see, yeah.
It's not bad, actually.
Yeah.
It tastes like radish pods.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
We have
the leaves
those.
are quite peppery, so you get a young
Try that.
That's quite peppery. The leaf's quite a peppery flavour usually, and the flowers are similarly peppery. You don't want to eat too much of the green behind it. So you can. This is what we do in the kitchen garden. We go around and try everything, you know.
See, I've grown these, but this is the first time I've tried them.
Can't believe that.
I mean,
But how amazingly beautiful things to put in your plate, on your
salad,
plate,
yeah.
in your salad or something, yeah.
oh, those flowers are quite sweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to try one.
Starting now, haven't you? You can have these, and there's loads of different kinds, obviously, as well.
Zaki, do you want to eat a flower? Come here.
Oh, we're not sure.
Do you want to eat a flower?
Is it sweet enough? Will I like it?
Do you want to eat one?
Oh, they pinched yours.
Are they food?
Yeah, they're food. We're going to eat. We're going to finish all the flowers from here.
That's okay.
Try
we
eating
can
that.
grow some more.
Try eating that. Go on.
You can wear it in your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can wear it in your hair instead. Oh, he's liking it.
No.
Oh, no.
And it's on my shoe. Brilliant.
So you need to get your recipe
I mean,
ranges out, yeah.
this year we're pickling loads. So we're just pickling them and storing them in jars.
And chocolate cake.
Pardon?
Chocolate and beetroot cake.
Okay, I'm not trying that.
Yeah. It's like carrot cake, so you get the moisture from the beetroot. You know, it's kind of an earthy flavour, isn't it? It's sweet and earthy. So that in a chocolate cake is awesome. You got beetroot, you can have chocolate cake.
You're the baker, so.
They'll like that. Don't tell them that's in it.
How do you sow your onions?
We do from sets. You know, you get the little second second year onions, if you like, that have been heat treated. But we also sow them seeds under glass. They're in the glass house the early part of the year in little modules. Sow them in little groups, and you don't get the bolting so much then because the first year from seed, and whereas the Lisette's the second year from seed, you know, and they've been heat treated.
So do you multi-sow them then?
We can multi-sow them or we can individual sow them.
We do a lot of multi-sowing.
Yeah.
We did our onion harvest yesterday.
Yeah.
Ailsa Craig's one that we grow a lot of.
Yeah.
So I sowed loads of sensu in July and yesterday.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of seed sowing yesterday.
Yeah. It's nice to have a big bout of it, isn't it? And then you think, phew, there's going to be stuff growing in here soon.
Let's go see the chickens.
Hello. Hello. I want to try to feel the relief.
Oh, they're supposed to go to the office.
They will love this.
Becky,
Say thank you when you
go and get a leaf. Go and get a leaf.
Wait.
Say thank you. Say thank you.
Do you want to feed them?
Babe.
Come on. I swiped that. I'm swiping my ID card. Let's see if these ones want any.
They do like this job.
We had a white chicken.
We've got that one, white Sussex, but that one's called sausage,
Which one's called sausage?
the white one, because somebody misheard what we said. They said it's not a white sausage then. I said, no, it's not a white sausage.
and it's stuck.
It's stuck. So sausage, freckles, roadrunner,
Jump.
ginger nut, and then there's the twins, and then there's floppy fringe and shouty girl.
Yeah, I've identified Shouty
You
Girl.
shouty girl.
Yeah.
You got any
She has
roosters on
gone
site?
really quiet.
No, we didn't want to do all the explaining about chicken sex. a lot of kids come round and go, have you got any baby chickens? We're going, we're not even going to start this explanation. It's too much.
This is going to
I'm
get
a gardener.
complicated.
Yeah. So let's get into this.
I use
I'm
my
stroking it with the
chicken
leaf.
run as a compost pile.
Do you?
So deep mulch, so at least a foot or so wood chips,
I'm only
leaves,
stroking
all that sort
you.
of thing. And then any prunings just go straight on top of there,
Ah.
and they'll scratch it up. And then within about 2 months, I've got a ton of compost.
Does anyone go in
So I
there?
can fill those big ton dumpy bags
Yeah, we use them a lot.
with compost within the space of a few weeks.
Wow, is that just because of the heat of the dung and things like that they're producing?
They're scratching, they're breaking it down. So all my lawn clippings go straight on top of there.
Yeah,
And I've made this DIY Rotary Sifter trommel thing.
right, yeah.
And I just use that to sift off all the big bits, and then I've got a massive pile of compost.
It's brilliant stuff, yeah.
Got some blue hubbard growing, and on one vine I've got 2 blue hubbards, or I had 2 blue hubbards. They went out and they just completely demolished one of them. They just started eating
One
it.
of the squashes. I'm surprised it could get through the skin.
It was only about the size of just over the size of a tennis ball.
It's a bit more like a courgette then, really, still at that
it's
point.
still quite young, but they just completely destroyed it. Which is a shame, because I was hoping that I'd get a big squash.
I think a lot of people have been hoping that this year and they're going to be disappointed. A lot of
Is it
folk,
not been
yeah,
good?
really struggling with squashes and courgettes.
For a lot of winter hardy mustards. And my beds are green in winter.
Productive, yeah.
I mean, it's not stuff that we're going to be eating, but the soil's going to be eating it.
Yeah.
When my grandma
Yeah.
walks in with their food, they just.
Yeah, well, the thing about the raised beds is really that you don't want to be digging them at all anyway. You just want to put in layers on top, don't you? Which is kind of what we're trying to do too. Because we used to here have lots and lots of trials beds for growing plants in. Huge 17-foot long beds, you know, and sort of like 10 feet wide. And they used to dig them every year. Can you imagine?
It's crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it? It sounds great. It's just, you definitely have to come and visit.
Yeah. I mean, the YouTube channel's called My Family Garden. That's what it is. It's My Family Garden. He's done really well. I mean, because it's something different, and it's working with nature rather than opposed to nature. People are, people waking up to that sort of thing a bit more.
I think they are. Yeah, and working with what you've got, not trying to force it to go down another road. If you haven't got sandy soil or light soil, you just work with that, don't you?
Absolutely.
You have to just encourage to
absolutely.
to accept what you've got and make the best of that, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
definitely.
But all this, the recycling thing is all something that we like to do as well. You know, we've got compost bins. That's the big wormery that we've got to reset up again. Giant. I know it's
Set
not
up,
running at
oh,
the moment now. But the leaf ball bin, you see there, that's where you get your really fine seed sowing compost from. It's had a couple of years ago.
So what I do with my leaf bulb is, you know, with the leaves, I'll spread them on my lawn.
Yeah.
Lawn mower them.
Oh yeah. Cut
So-
them to the.
So I get some grass in there and some leaves.
Yeah.
And then if you just mix that and just leave it in the I use the same system.
Yeah.
Just leave it. You can get leaf mould in the space of about 6 months.
Yeah, really quick. This was fall. This is last autumn's. If you look underneath now, look at that, how gorgeous that's going, and how hot it is. You put your hand in there. It's
It's going to be lovely stuff, that.
Yeah. So I put some of it on the bed if it's a bit rough still before it's all gone. But when it breaks down, it becomes a really nice compost for you.
Just sieve your compost.
It depends how bad it is. Do you know what I'm sowing? If it's something fine, I'll sieve it, because otherwise the seed will get a bit lost or blocked potentially. But if it's just ordinary sort of reasonable sized seeds, I don't think you need to, really. And that goes on the beds, and the veg loves it. You know. So that's just a compost bin.
Did you try hot composting, or is it just...
We did we did have a hot box. I didn't actually run it, so I'm not really sure how it worked. I think they're running it down in the...
Accelerate?
It's celeriac, yeah, celeriac leaves. I've just been pulling the leaves off, you know, exposing the bulb of it, yeah. So we're just trying to get everyone to layer it nicely, but we've got some more boxes to set up, some more compost bins this year, so we'll have a proper system where you can pile your stuff up, make the whole heap and then turn it into another one, you know, rather than having little bits of stuff added all the time, because what happens is you have to take it all out and get the good stuff at the bottom out, mix it in or remake it.
On a system like this, how long does it take you to make your compost?
I'm trying to think about last year's. It depends on the heat really and the weather, maybe 3 months, 4 months, you know.
So you can... Do you turn your compost often?
Not no time.
So just layer your compost and then make your compost in 3 months, that's not bad.
Yeah, this is quite a warm thing because it's this recycled plastic, you see, so it's hotter than a wooden box quite often.
You got in the greenhouse?
Tomatoes this year, and some aubergines. So we've kind of changed over to going to one crop rather than trying to grow 3 or 4 different ones that don't always like the same conditions, you know, like cucumbers and tomatoes. Yeah. So it's just tomatoes this year, and we've packed them in, as you can see. But the biggest thing that we've found is making a difference to how well they do is having fans. So it circulates the air better.
Okay.
So you're not getting so many. So you see the little fans that you can get, and they move the air around, basically, so you don't get stagnant air, which is obviously when you start to getting mouldy sort of things going on, and that's we're starting to go now. But you know, this is the first that we've started to see little spots of mould on the leaves. Yeah.
What I do is I'll remove all the leaves.
Yeah, well, we're starting to take the lower ones off now to ripen the fruit. You can see.
With a plant like that,
You just
apart
get that.
from that growing tip, everything would be off.
Yeah. Is that to stop the
Stop the mould,
infection,
air circulation, and because I'm growing my tomatoes in amongst other things, so I've got loads of chilli plants that are probably the size of Zaki at the moment, and I've got tomato plants, you know, reaching for the sky.
Right, so how do you grow your chilies then? Do you start them in seed indoors early in the year and then grow them on?
Start them sort of December, January time.
Yeah, that's like us. Yeah.
And we've got loads of super hearts this year.
Have you? We've got a few ornamental chilies, but we haven't really grown them this year because they don't really like to be with tomatoes because they like it to be a bit hotter and drier, don't they, really?
They do. I mean, I've got tomatoes, chilies, and I've got gourds over the top.
Yeah.
Oh, these look beautiful.
Sorry, that's me. Yeah, definitely.
I'm
Welcome
definitely
back.
right, yeah.
Come back and see us again. Different time of year maybe, and say, well, okay, what we're doing here now.
Yeah.
I think people quite like the fact that we make mistakes as well.
Oh
And
yeah,
that
they
we
love
have-
that.
We
They
have
love to
rubbish
see
crops because of
weeds
whatever's.
and,
You know, and we've got pigeons eating everything, and they're going, "Oh, it's so perfect." I go, "Well, it's not actually at all perfect because there's no such thing as perfect veg growing." So.
No, it's all. There's always something that goes wrong.
leaves in your hair.
I tried butter beans for the first time this year,
Butter beans.
and they're supposed to be, you know, the massive, like runner beans, but they've grown to that sort of size, and they're not getting any bigger.
Okay.
And they're just, you know, really pale and yellow, and I don't know. Just some things just don't work
Yeah.
out.
Some of the beans, I mean, if it's the tenderer ones like runners and French beans, they just don't like the cold either, do they?
No.
You know, and especially if it's cold nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's usually a reason, but we always say every year that there's a kind of, it's a good brassica year or it's a good bean year. Don't know if you find that, some of the weather conditions?
I mean, this year I think has been a brilliant year for gourds. That
Gourds.
July heat wave just set
Oh, they
everything
liked
to good
it.
stead.
Yeah.
But thanks for showing us around. This has been absolutely
Oh no,
brilliant.
it's been nice to meet you all.
Is that
It's been great, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
thanks very much for inviting us down.
Yeah, no
It's
problem.
been amazing.
Oh,
Thank
cool.
you.
Come back again.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe for regular updates. You can see an extended version of this video on Patreon without any editing. It's going to be the full interview, so it's going to be over 40 minutes long. Go and check that out if you want to. I'll leave a link for it up here. So I'll see you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.